Holly McKeen here, Chilliwack, BC. So I'm just going to do a quick trimming demo. So these little pots, I've made a whole bunch of them right now. Different kinds of tops, but here's one that's all finished. So I'm going to do the trim. So you can see how much clay I'd left on the pot when it was still on the wheel being thrown. And I take them to a tiny little bottom so that we get this really nice line down the side here. So that's what we're going to take away. I'll show you how I go about doing it. So first thing I do is establish where I want my bottom to be once I get it in the chuck there. So see, I take my bead on it, and then I'll take some of this excess shoulder away. I'm not going to take too much because I don't want it. I'll pay a lot of attention to that curve right there, especially at the end. These are little pots, so I usually use the smaller trimming tools on them. And I like roundy trimming tools because I'm making a round curve. So I roughed out most of that. Now let's establish where this foot ring is going to go. Right there, looks good. Now, my pots are really curvy, so I don't want a straight line, straight up and down around my foot. So I'm going to make the interior bottom of the foot, tap it, that feels just about right, on a curve. So that's like a little mound inside the foot ring that echoes the rest of the pot when you turn it over. So it should kind of go with the pot. And then this wall, I flipped it from square to the round, because this corner of the foot ring, I want to have a curve. I don't want it all, I don't want any straight lines on this pot. So, did you catch that? I went from curve to curve, and now I'm going to go back down here because I like a little crisp little line in there. I hope you can see that. So I spend a little time on the detail of the inside of the foot. I get those curves just the way I want them. Get out of there. So once I've got that set out the way I want it, I'll go back to the outside again. There. A couple bits in there that don't want to leave me. Okay, there we go. I like to trim fairly wet. This isn't really dry. You won't find it kind of chattering and sending up little chips. That's just where I like it. I threw these yesterday. Try a little bigger one. Here's one of my other favorites. You know, it's funny, after time you get so you're only using just a very few little tools. You have your favorite shapes. Oops. Hold it. It's coming along. You can wet. This is the nice thing about not having it bisked. So it's leather hard, so you can just wet it down. This is also a tiny bit damp. It'll just stick nicely. Then you'll see I flip it back over to get that top just finished. There we go. Easy to pop back on. Now I use a mirror. The camera is hanging on the top of my mirror, and I often shoot the camera from here so that you can see the mirror, but I'm looking over in the mirror all the time for this angle. so I get the view that you're getting through the mirror. And I'll just keep going until I know the weight is right and the line is right. I want this to just come, that's getting pretty good there. Now these will be crystalline when they're finished, and crystalline can't have these kind of throwing or trimming lines in them. So I do a lot of ribbing in the making and then again in the trimming. You can tell by the tap just how thick that wall is and where you've got a little bit more room that can come off of it. Okay. That's not bad. So you see that I'm using this tool with a curve in it to go down this curvy wall. And yes, I fussed this much over these. Now, if these were little stoneware pots that I was making for sugar bowls and creamers and such, they would go a lot faster. But it's porcelain, it's going to be the crystalline, they're going to be little art pieces. I still have to throw the catchers, the pedestals, for each one to sit up on, because the glaze is going to run right off. And they have to have super smooth surfaces. If you have any lines in the surface, then the crystalline just shows, it shows right through the glazes, and all you see are lines in behind the crystals, and it just gets too busy. So there we go. I'm happy with that curve. Look at how perfectly round it is. Ooh, weight's nice. And I just flip it over. Sometimes I'll do a little trimming off the top as well. But I don't think this one needs it. I think it's got a real nice line and the weight's really good on the top. I already put a nice little bevel on here. Can tittle that up a little bit right now. I use a rib a lot. It's a teeny bit off, but I'm not going to worry about it. It's close enough for this job. So that line should be nice and continuous. Aha, I like it. You see? Bottom, pretty little form. So that is how I do it.